Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to News Toast, and it looks like we're about ready to enter the year of the handheld. Of course, we have the Switch successor right around the corner, and I know a lot of us are super excited about that. But next generation is seemingly going to be a little bit different for them than what it was back in 2017. I mean, if you think about it, when the Switch first launched, it was really a one-of-a-kind device. We had never really seen something like that before, or at least to that extent and be as successful as it was. But technically, that's not the case this time around, and yet another handheld just leaked out a little bit early, and this one is rather interesting. If anything else, the handheld market is getting very exciting. Now, we also got some Game Pass news as some of their 2025 plans leaked a little bit early, so make sure to stay tuned for all of that. But let's just go and jump right into things, starting off with No Rest for the Wicked. Now, this is the next game from the Ori creators, and it's been in early access since April of this year. However, it's been a little quiet since its launch, but it now sounds like they want to change that in 2025. You can see here where they said, with the Crucible update, we added a whole new roguelite mode, setting the stage for more replayability out of the existing early access content. Since then, we've been hard at work on the Breach and our next big content and feature updates. We know we've been quiet, a lot has been happening for us at Moon Studios during this year, and we will finally be able to share all about it very soon. We will be kicking off 2025 with a new announcement in January, and you can also expect better and more frequent communication on our official channels throughout the year. So there you go. If you like No Rest for the Wicked, or if you've been interested and you've just been holding off, well, it sounds like 2025 will have plenty in store. And that's been a positive for this game. When it first launched, it received a lot of criticism, but it seems like they've improved things over time. If you look at its recent reviews on Steam, you'll notice that it has an 84% positive rating. I mean, if anything else, I think there's a lot of potential for this to be a great game. I mean, it's got a unique and rewarding flavor of combat for a Diablo-esque style of game. It's got a beautiful art style, and even the story has potential as well. So, I mean, I hope this game follows through with some of its promises, because if it even slightly compares to the Ori series in terms of quality, then yeah, we could be in for a real treat. Now, we also finally got an answer from Sega about their mini console line. You know, I know there's been a lot of hope out there that they would continue with more miniature consoles, maybe a Sega Saturn or a Dreamcast Mini. I mean, I know I would be all in for a Dreamcast Mini. That would be an easy day one purchase for me. I had some really good times with that console. Nonetheless, apparently, Sega doesn't want my money, and they definitely don't want your money either. They was recently asked about the possibility for more miniature consoles, and this was their response. I'm not going for the mini direction. It's not me. I want to embrace modern gamers. We are not a retro company. We really appreciate our legacy, we value it, but at the same time, we want to deliver something new. Otherwise, we'll become history. That's not what we're aiming for. And okay, he made his point. They're not just a retro company. And hey, okay, that's all fine and dandy and everything. But I don't like this answer at all. And let me explain why. First off, and let's be honest about things, they could easily do both. A miniature console would in no shape or form whatsoever stop them from making new games as well. For him to even try to say that it wouldn't, it just doesn't make sense. Which, by the way, some of those new games that they have in development are actually from their dormant retro franchises. Just throwing that out there. But this is where this response really annoys me. I just don't think it's genuine. In fact, I believe that Nintendo is in the exact same boat as Sega. Now, at least they're not making excuses for why they're not doing miniature consoles, but, you know, I know a lot of fans out there want a Nintendo 64 Mini. I'm with you. I would like that as well. But I don't think that's going to happen either, because Nintendo, or in this case, Sega as well, they want us gamers to buy into their subscription services to play these older retro games. It doesn't really seem like much of a coincidence here that earlier this month, Sega delisted a bunch of their old retro games. And as we talked about yesterday, they just teased a new subscription service. Again, I don't really think that that's a coincidence. Instead, I believe there's a very good chance that we'll see those old Sega classics pop back up again in that eventual subscription service that they were teasing, similar to what Nintendo does with Switch Online. So these mini consoles, they're good for fans because they're nostalgic and they're a one-time purchase. But I think both Nintendo and Sega have transitioned their strategy to use these games, to utilize them to attract subscribers. So I don't believe Sega's statement, and I think that's what's actually happening here. Okay, so let's go talk about this new handheld, though. Or actually, 3 new handhelds set for 2025, and this is all part of the Lenovo Legion Go lineup. There's been some anticipation for these devices, and these leaked a little bit early, and apparently they plan to reveal them at CES 2025. And this could actually be a really interesting lineup for the PC handheld market. I mean, the Lenovo Legion Go is already viewed as one of the best options as is, if not the very best option, depending on what you want. If you want a large screen, as an example, there's really nothing better because it has a massive 8.8-inch display, albeit there are still some caveats that they need to overcome in the future. Well, that's kind of where these new consoles comes in, which includes a Legion Go 2, a Legion Go S, and a Legion Go S Steam OS. Now, that's rather interesting. We'll come back to that in just a moment, but you can see in an infographic here that gives us more information about the specs of each device. You can see that the Legion Go 2 is moving over to the Z2 Extreme chip. It's got an upgraded graphics card, and it also sports an OLED 8.8-inch display. So this will be another behemoth, but with an even better display. It sounds like it's going to be a bit of a powerhouse here. Now, my only thing about this specific device is that it will likely come in at a premium price tag, but I think the way they're handling it is actually very well thought out, because that's where the Legion Go S comes in. This is going to be their more budget-friendly option, but still plenty capable. It seemingly will have up to 32 gigabytes of RAM, and it has a Z2 Go chip. But do kind of keep in mind here that even though this is a newer device, it seemingly will be weaker than the current Legion Go. So what it kind of seems like they're trying to do here is to cover all of their bases, all of these different price points. The Legion Go 2 will be their premium version, and it might cost between, let's say, $800 to $1,000. Then the current Legion Go will likely still remain at $700, and then the new Legion Go S is expected to launch at $600. So each device is targeting a different price point, which I personally think is smart, and plus, it's not hard to find these devices at a discounted price as long as you're willing to wait. I've seen the Lenovo Legion Go at around $500 several times in just the last few months. Now, speaking of covering all of their bases, though, they seemingly will have a Steam OS option, and I think that's something that we're going to start seeing a lot next year. By all indication, Valve is going to license out their Steam OS, similar to what they did with the Steam Machine years ago. And this is going to be big in the handheld space. You know, Windows hasn't exactly been a great experience. It's just not built with handhelds in mind. So I think this is a good outcome for consumers. It's a good outcome for third parties. And it's a very good outcome for Valve. I don't think Valve really cares if you buy the Steam Deck or if you buy one of these third-party handhelds. As long as you're buying games from their storefront, then I'd say they're probably pretty happy. And well, now all of a sudden, these Steam handhelds are going to get even more competitive, which bodes well for the future of the PC handheld market. I think the only real loser here is probably Microsoft. But at the same time, I always talk about this, competition breeds excellence, and this could push them to better their own Windows handheld experience. In fact, there's been a lot of rumors these past few weeks that Xbox is working on their own Xbox OS that could possibly work on PC. Now, if they could do something like that, well then, that could be a major, major shakeup for the market yet again, and give Valve some real competition, because one thing that Windows does have an advantage in is compatibility. Windows has things like PC Game Pass as one such example. So if they can make their own handheld that can play Xbox games, PC games, Steam games, Epic Game Stores games, that would be a huge thing for a market like this. But I'll just leave it at this. The handheld market is rapidly evolving. The technology is moving super fast. It's super exciting. And we very well could have official handhelds from Xbox, Nintendo, PlayStation, and Valve within the next few years. I think this very well might be the most exciting market for growth over the next decade. Now, one last thing before we go, though. We got some new details for Xbox Game Pass in 2025. This comes from Ecstasis TV, and he said, Call of Duty World of War has been added to the Microsoft Store for PC, and according to the listing, it does not support achievements. According to my sources, I understand that it will be available on Game Pass around May, the same month in which Singularity should arrive. So these are both Activision games, and this kind of supports the idea that Xbox Game Pass is going to do a slow rollout for Activision Blizzard games, including Call of Duty. And I think this is a smart thing to do for both themselves as well as for gamers alike. As a gamer, I don't have the time to play all of these games at once, so, just give each title their own time to breathe and their own time to shine. That's one of the beauties of Game Pass. I think right now, though, they probably want the main focus to remain on Black Ops 6. Now, do keep in mind, though, that just because Ecstasis TV mentioned that these games are going to come out in May, that doesn't mean that there won't be other Activision games that will release within that time frame. In fact, Ecstasis TV mentioned that another Call of Duty game will come out in March, and from what I've seen, it kind of seems like Xbox is trying to include a new ABK game on a monthly or at the very least bi-monthly basis. Earlier this month, as one such example, they launched Crash Team Racing. Go check that game out. It's absolutely excellent. And back in November, they launched Spyro Reignited. Also, excellent game. Go check it out. So, I'm sure they'll have some surprises between now and May, but Singularity, I want to go ahead and highlight this one because this one is definitely an interesting game that I'm personally excited to hear about. This was originally a PS360 game, and it's still not available through backwards compatibility. So this is going to be a new game for the Xbox One and Xbox Series platforms. And, the thing about Singularity is that it was a very underrated and a very creative first-person shooter. So it's a game that's been somewhat lost to time, and that's really too bad because it was a good game. I'd actually like to see Raven Software get another opportunity to make a game like Singularity again. But that's also why I'm glad to hear that it's going to come back as a part of Game Pass. Now, soon enough, well, more people will get the chance to play this somewhat forgotten hidden gem. Anyways, though, that's going to be it for this episode. But until next time, make sure to subscribe, ring that bell, Merry Christmas, and peace out.